Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. My name's Mohsin. I'm a denim designer and lecturer, and together we've got Zowie Broach from the RCA and like Irene from Kaihara, and we're going to be going over the past 5 years, which is just kind of like our anniversary party, and we're going to be introducing the two latest students, or not students, latest masters. Who've just finished, who are also sponsored by Kaihara as well as the RTA. This project I've been involved with since 2015, and Irene has been involved with us from the very beginning, and Zowie as well. And this is just when Zowie started at the RCA. So I'm really excited and proud that this has been carrying on for this amount of time, and it's actually grown as well. So it's really quite special. And just a little bit about just a little bit about the RCA. Obviously, they're one of the oldest sort of institutions. They started in 1837. They're ranked #1 when it comes to art and design, and fashion, and their master's course is ranked #1 from like 2000 and 15. You know, it speaks for itself really. Whenever you speak to any student and they finish from the RCA, they're extremely proud to not only got in, but to finish it, and they got so much out of it. And having taught at this course for more than 6 years, I feel very proud myself to be a part of it. 9 out of 10 graduates who study there come out saying it's completely impacted their career, and 95% of the graduates link their current role to the RCA, which is amazing. And Zowie, who's actually joined us today, has been at the RCA since 2014, has got an amazing career at Boudica, as well as being in education and being an educator herself for many, many years. And I had the luck, and I'm so fortunate to have Zowie as my own tutor when I was doing my BA course at Westminster more than 20 years ago or so. So hello again. Little bit about Kaihara. These guys are one of the oldest denim mills, and they've been around since 1893. But the amazing thing is, which, things that I find out myself is, 50% of Japanese domestic production, that's denim. 1 out of 2 jeans is a Kaihara fabric coming out of Japan. So it's quite impressive. And they've got links with so many of the older mills as well, be it Colette or one of the other mills. They've been helping a lot of other mills help their process, educate them and get them onto the starting block. So Kaihara are one of the most important denim mills, and very, very relevant, even to the fact that Levi's Japan and Levi's Europe and America have been using them for more than 30 odd years. Even the recent, when Cone Denim lost their white oak, or they sold it, the LVC team decided to move all their production and all their experimentation with Kaihara. So it speaks for itself that Kaihara is one of the most leading denim mills, and everyone likes to work with them. And I've been working with them since the beginning of my career. So more than 18 years I've been working with Kaihara, and every so often I always like the opportunity to work with them. I think I did the first Pringle jean I designed was with a Kaihara fabric, and every person I've worked with, I've always tried to incorporate Kaihara in the mix. And especially with the RCA, when it came to getting a mill to sponsor the students and doing something quite special, I said to Zowie, it has to be Kaihara. And I'm friends with many mills, but the RCA is one of the leaders, and so is Kaihara. So it made total sense. So anyway, that's my take on it. Me, myself, I've been an educator for more than 18 years. I run my own denim brand as well, but I've been associated with the Transformers Foundation with Andrew Ola, but I very much always have been doing education at the same time as me doing my own brand. And it's become a big part of what I do. And this particular project in particular has become very special to me, and I'm very, very protective over it. I'm sure Zowie would agree. We feel very, very protective sort of over it. But students, now the great thing is this project, and I do many projects with many other colleges that involve 100 students, 30 students, 40 students. But me and Zowie and Irene decided very early on that we should only cater for maybe 2 or 3 students every year. That's it. And that way we can spend more time and energy with them, get to understand them more, help them with their fabric choices and their development, and mentor them. So Zowie, here's our first student we're mentioning, which was, we hit the ball out of the park really with Hannah Jenkins. She came out with this staple to fit collection, which was amazing. And she won the 50,000, I think 50,000 euro like design award from H&M, which was a complete shock to, obviously we knew it was amazing, but unbelievable start to the project, right?
I mean, I have to say, it's almost an idea that I still hasn't kind of, yeah, it is so frustrating when you have great ideas and you see them have such great ideas, that to continue, it's still there. I mean, the jeans on the left, please, I would like a pair right now. But just the concept of that stapling is so beautiful. Damn, oh, to be a millionaire, I would totally fund that collection.
I was lucky enough to, I think you were there as well, Zoe. We went to the opening of the H&M, and I managed to buy the entire collection. So,
oh, did you?
I bought the entire set. I bought, they're only like £200-300 each. I said, blah, 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 because these are the things that I have for my archive to show older, so new students, and to have a copy of it, because I never get a chance to buy students' work. So I definitely.
Oh my God, that was smart, man. I so should have done the same.
You can still find some of them on eBay, actually. I've checked quite recently. So
you're too savvy, Mr. Sajid.
Yeah. Sort of, Irene, can you remember anything fun about this collection? Oh, it was like 5 years ago now.
Yeah, it was like, it's the first time we collaborate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was new to us, and we are very happy like to see the students' work, because it's really different from those the customer we are working with is sort of like more commercial, but their work is very different. So we all feel very impressive. Yeah.
And having been involved in many other courses, obviously these collections are very much thought through. The fabric is like an extension. It's not just they've thrown denim on top of it. They've really thought everything through, even to the weight and to the toiling of this collection. But yeah, I thought it was impressive. So
Hannah was quite specific, wasn't she? And all the way through, she understood like how it would hang, how it would be presented. If you were doing showrooms, if you were selling, everything came together, I think, for her. Yeah, she was amazing.
She was amazing. And then we got Angie from the same year.
Oh my God, yeah, you got double whammy that year.
Double whammy. We had two amazing students in 1 year, and she took it very like military experimentation, also dart manipulation, shape manipulation, but she concentrated on finish, which is something that most students don't do because it's very scary. When it comes to denim and finishing, she did it all at home, I believe. I don't know where she did half the finishing. Maybe she did it at like college, but it was so well finished and it impressed so many people. I remember she actually presented this collection in Italy as well. She got invited to a Denim Boulevard show like a few months later, and she had it all in the installation. But
yeah, I've been speaking to Ange recently because what's interesting for me is often the intensity of the work is so compact and so whole and so fully studied. It can go for a long time before you need to do something different, if that makes sense. I guess in the denim world, maybe that's kind of a good kind of place for it to sit. But Ange has been putting some of these up on her Instagram actually, and yeah, I actually kind of see quite a lot of her influence that kind of trickles out. But they again, every piece, it's like that kind of emotional sense when something's been so considered, when you feel it, when you touch it, when you see it in the reel, you really understand those different levels of how maybe designers got pulled too far from what, not necessarily in denim, but just in fashion, we would call that high-end couture down to kind of super fast. And there's something to be said about denim celebrating a more higher end price point when we know it survives, we know it's durable, and when something kind of feels that much power and emotionality in it. This work to me is quite timeless. It's kind of like that new camouflage, but really, again, packed full of ideas, not been fully kind of commercialized or commodified or whatever it is. There's still a whole lot of life left in both of these students' work. Amazing to look. It feels timeless. I mean,
absolutely.
Maybe material has that quality, but
very relevant. Even I remember looking at the garments very closely and the amount of interesting pocket shapes and bellows and so much work for someone to do by herself. Insane. And this wasn't just a simple 5 pocket here. Everything was engineered to the max.
Absolutely.
And it was finished. So very impressive. So yeah, I hope to see more from Angie. Then we got Pear, another success story. So now we're moving like a year later, and Pear was one of these students that I was drawn to because it was obviously we just had this very engineered military style. Then we had this amazing stapled fit, and Pear was something completely different than the following year. Very avant-garde, toiling, beautiful drapery. And, you know, he showed me one of his sketches very early on. And I said to Zoe, I would like Pear to be the sponsor for this year's group. And she goes, yeah, good. So she was agreeing there. But this is just a collection. This is a picture from his show. I think could have been 1 month after he graduated or so. I think he showed.
It was 2 days after.
2 days. I think you remember more than me.
Yeah, I think we did our show. And then 2 days later, he was doing this show. Yeah, I love it when a design allows the material to be the dominant. You know, I mean, I know there's lots of different ways that denim can be dominant, but I mean, for that fall and hang, that scale, that attitude, it's all like, the material is me. I am the material. It's just like the most intense, beautiful piece. Yeah, it's very powerful.
Just want to add as well, this like particular year, 2016, we were also sponsored by Cone. So I have to say, we had a double whammy year. Well, we got Cone to help us as well, and Kaihara. So we had 2 amazing mills, but obviously Kaihara being the more prominent mill. But yeah, Pears, and he's done so well now as well, you know. So great.
Yeah, denim is continued to be really, I think, a crucial. You called him painterly, and I always think our material are the designer's paints, you know. And so it's us understanding how, you know, depending on the weight. So if we just look at the paint of denim and then all the variables of that paint, how we learn as a designer not to be arrogant and make sure that we listen to the paint of the material, but also coming to Pear. I just remember in his first year, I loved his illustrations and the way he literally drew. And it was this for me was when he took what he could draw on paper to draw on the body. You know.
Yeah, no, very much.
Yeah, and I remember the fabric is very lightweight fabric. It's like 4 ounce. Like most people use it like for more like neat style or like a more lady style, but Pear put it in a very different way.
Yeah. Nice.
Amazing. Then we got Camilla. So this was interesting. Obviously, very much a different type of collection. Obviously, I think it was screen printed after the garment was made, and the mistakes were like encouraged, or pleating was encouraged. It was a lovely way to experiment, really, and I thought this was quite like refreshing for the following year. So Camilla was quite fun. And
she's it feels a little bit like Hannah and Ange combined, but it's become its own thing. No, I think Camilla's doing really well and still continues to work around this style. But yeah, again, really simple concept, but really powerful. Again, I think you probably agree there was a million ideas like in one piece that you could kind of pull apart a little bit, but very powerful. And again, really about the relationship, this new kind of, I guess, again, it's kind of paint meets engineering and the kind of collision of the two, actually.
No, that's what it is. I often do very complicated things as well. And she's made it simplified by keeping it black and just doing a simple screen over it. So that's the way that she's brought it down. Otherwise, if everything was not color matching, it would be really complicated. But I don't know. But I quite like Camilla, so I wanted to highlight her. And then we've got Elizabeth Vale, and this is an interesting one. She was someone that I was really intrigued by because her garments were so well made, and she had that look down to a T. And I remember telling her, I think on our very first meeting, you should meet Nick Clements, the photographer. He might be good to photograph your collection. And in the end, he did actually photograph her collection, which was quite remarkable.
I don't know. It's so beautiful, these pictures. No, they got on really well. You spotted that connect up. But what was so beautiful here, again, coming back to what the material is I think for a young designer to be minimal is really hard. You know, minimalism, whether you're an architect, you know, it's kind of very philosophical, it's meditative, to really know that line. And I think Elizabeth always had that beautiful management in line in print. But when her garments were made in the denim and her relationship, it's just, they became so pure and so beautiful. And it was like the material assisted her to reach that point.
That's it. That's exactly it. It's like, you know, for me, it was so simple. Even her drawings were her tech packs were so simple. And I was like, wow. Because, you know, you meet a lot of students and they're very, very flamboyant. They want to express themselves more. She was expressing it in how simple she could be, and just her fabric
so
choice.
Beautiful.
I think we ended up using a really expensive fabric for her because it was all about the fabric. It was all about the fabric. I think it was like a really expensive 18-ounce you asked for.
Was it very narrow in my memory?
Yeah.
Selvage.
It was all selvage. She was like, I want it to be selvage. I want it to be super clean. And yeah, I thought this was quite amazing. Even Sadia was helping me put this together. She goes, wow, Elizabeth Vale. Even the name is amazing. I was like, great. You know, anyway. So the following year, in 2018, we had a couple of great students, but like sort of like Renata was a standout one for me. And I think this particular garment, she used like, I think it was like something like 30 or 20 meters or something, and just, you know, but so heavy, these garments. I remember seeing it in the presentation. I was amazed by it. No, I couldn't actually believe that.
Oh.
But yeah, it was. This was one of the really.
I didn't know. It's heavy.
Yeah, I think it was like a 4 ounce or 6 ounce there. So Irene, that
4 ounce. Yes,
she like collected, and it's a shirting weight, but she just did some magical stuff with it all.
I love the little kind of white bleach marks that she did. I don't know if you remember Renata's just recently published a cookbook, because whenever Renata presented, it was always with food. And so they feel like ingredients to me, actually. And yes, it was amazing. Yeah, I remember their weight, but if you gather that intensely, that's what happens.
That's a lot of pleating there. That's
a lot of material.
There's a lot of hard work in pleating and sewing, and God knows the machine she used must have been a walking foot to get through all of that fabric. But
it was also
so pretty.
But it's that ritual, you know, she was very into the ritual of food and how you establish, it's interesting how...
It's very interesting,
Yeah, maybe it was too heavy, you know, it'd be nice for that idea to be taken forward, but maybe for the moment, the weight that model feels, that again, it's a bit like couture to ready to wear. You need those intense moments. And then you can kind of pull it outwards. But to get the feeling of something, maybe the weight was important, actually.
Yeah, no, I just loved it. I thought it was so like romantic when I saw it. I fell in love with it. I thought the color choices and stuff. But yeah, stand out for me. Then we have like just going from last year, like TISCAR. Yeah, this was also another romanticized, for me, beautifully executed collection. Yet very engineered, but beautiful silhouettes. Like really a lot of silhouette play here, and I thought it's quite commercial. If you do see shapes like this now, you know, where people are going for it, and she, you know, again, it's a real skill here, and she did all the one-piece flies. She did all the stuff that she learned with all the training that I, you know, the little bits and bobs that I helped her with. But another standout person.
I think she just showed during London Fashion Week with possibly a variation of this collection, actually. Oh no, TISCAR's amazing. But again, I don't know if you remember, Irene, her drawings, they were kind of like these odd little creatures that were kind of magical, and how she kind of moved from this sort of more animated creature and then really established that in her cut and form. And I think, I remember her one-piece fly. I love the one-piece fly that you always show. It's just like that lovely sharing of the denim community that I think I've heard you talk about so much in the past. And it's interesting, recently in some talks we've done this week, so many students are saying they want the system of fashion, not just denim, but fashion, to be less about secrets and more open source, more this sharing of ideas. And I always think, the denim community that you have brought forward, Mohsin, is so based around that. And it's like, this comes from 100 years ago or 80 years ago, and it works. So let's just work with it. But it doesn't, what's kind of wonderful there is in sharing, you help promote sustainability or waste-free or clever concepts. It doesn't stop there being this individualism of a voice around what is a pair of jeans.
No, it's true.
pants. It's
one of my good friends, Miles Johnson, who's also an educator and a denim designer. He said recently as well, like, for me to be sustainable is to share knowledge, and it's the absolute, you know, if you're keeping it all to yourself, you're not helping anyone at all. So yeah, anyway, another standout. And then I think we move on to one more from this like sort of like year group. Is it sort of like Yai Ming? I'm pronouncing it.
Yiming.
Wow. For me, her collection was like was amazing. So it's so well executed, so well made. It's like, you know, you meet people who are really good at sewing. She was like immaculate at how she made these pieces, and the theme of it was all just super clean but very engineered. Zoe, sorry, I interrupted you here.
No, not at all. Yeah, I mean, I think hers was all about modularity, and so it was, again, one of those things. It wasn't minimal like Elizabeth, but she was very, it was all ordered. But what was beautiful was it became alive on the body.
Yeah.
So like, it's actually very linear and flat and quite pure in that way. But I love her interpretation of when the individual would wear it, and all the different, didn't she do lots of little weird buttons and kind of this lovely equipment that you could kind of connect things. So clever.
On her, which I didn't show here, but she had a board of all the different ways you could wear the garments as well, all the different ways you could try it on and stuff. And, you know, that's what it is. It's about everyone's interpretation of putting things on and how you could wear it. Yeah, amazing. And now we're moving on to this year. So obviously we've got like Danielle, and both Danielle and Sam are going to be presenting their collections, but this is just a brief snapshot of, you know, I was super impressed by Danielle. Just the fact that she was thinking about not making a garment with no waste, especially when it came to cutting. And there's been some of it recently, but Danielle was the one that for me hit it on the head, where she had engineered these garments that there's absolutely no waste. And not only that, she took it to a very authentic place as well, and really came over to my studio and said, I want to look at all these details and I want to incorporate it so it's still with denim, it's still, rather than some avant-garde piece. I really thought it was beautiful what she was.
But the pattern on the right there, that image is kind of like, I mean, almost, I mean, I haven't really talked to her about that before, but that one is one I haven't seen before. But it's like a most beautiful picture in the world.
I know.
Philosophically, that says that those markings are about value, and yet they're gorgeous. No, I mean, that's such a beautiful sense of understanding that when you buy these trousers, it's just this simple piece of material that all comes in, and you own all of it. There's nothing that you have to, as a wearer, have any sense of error or guilt or you know, what you've done is not wrong, but I don't know, just there's something pure and beautiful about that image on the right.
Issey Miyake pleats thing where you just the fabric and you cut into it, and then there you go. You have this amazing garment. With clever knowledge, you can put this together in a clever way.
But it also looks a bit like, do you know James Turrell's crater? James Turrell, is it called? The guy he bought the crater in Mexico, I think it is, or Arizona. Right. It looks like some weird land marking kind of alien crop kind of like, you know, it's like a lovely topology to it.
Because I do making classes every year, like I do 4 or 5 of them every year with students as well as the public, and I was thinking maybe we could use one of Danielle's patterns as an experimentation, and maybe get a flyer over and she teaches us how to make one of these crazy pants, just as a
oh my god, that'd be an amazing workshop. Danielle's super workshop.
I think it could be sponsored by a mill. I don't know if Kaihara want to do it, but it's definitely something probably experiment. But anyway, sort of like Danielle will explain more about our project in a minute. And then we got Sam as well. So Sam, this year we only sponsored 2. It fluctuates from 2 to 3 to 4, but the last few years we've concentrated on 2
focus
people. But Sam was amazing, I thought.
Well, Sam, for me, again, I don't want to say too much because he's about to say, but again, in his way, he paints with it. But he really, he's just, I mean, I don't want to say anything because they're about to present. So
but just my 50 cents on it. I love the raw edges. I love the Cornelli stitching. I love the romanticized. There's trims that are made from other things. And what's amazing about these students, I just saw a recent collection from another group of people, and none of the students got to style any of their collection. And what's nice about the RCA and other projects that I'm involved with, the students get to tell their story and how they would like it to be presented. And that's quite a beautiful thing. And I don't know, they're very lucky to do it, because I've been in projects where the tutors end up filing it for them or something. And I was like,
yeah, but then that's wrong, just to be direct.
For me, that's wrong.
Because for me, what is not about us teaching them anything more than what these guys are designing and informing, which I think is super crucial for the future, is their community. So you can't be a designer that imposes your ideas on someone you don't even know, you know? So you can approach that creatively and full of value, or you can approach that from a business perspective too. But I think these guys are working with bodies and people and understanding. And so the language is not just a linear process, it's more holistic and swirling. And body informs shape, and material informs finish, but it's around a set of a network, a community, a set of values that informs the way you would record something. It's a powerful intuitive instinct that's developed over 2 years, that particularly in Sam's work, when he talks it through, you'll hear. I also, his pattern cutting is phenomenal. And I love the modern, you know, again, it's a waistcoat, but it's more than that. It's Sam's lines, and he has all the reasons and meanings behind where that's come from. Again, not being a demand, and a sort of slightly, you know, some design can be a little arrogant over a material. And it's about really respecting that material, teaching us as designers how the material can stand and hold. You can do less, because if you listen to the material tells you. And I think very much that's what I enjoyed seeing in Sam's work.
Yeah, absolutely. So Irene, obviously.
Can I say, Mohsin and Irene, that is the most amazing exhibition that we need to do. Gosh, that was just beautiful.
It's the wash is beautiful too.
Yeah, and all of them
wash,
very, and I forget to mention that both Sam and Danielle, they were also sponsored by like Genealogia. So they went over to Valencia and they did some laser finishing on their collections and did like more sustainable finishing. Like the last few years, it's become a lot more, it's a lot more easier. And then obviously, because I've been working with some of these people, everyone wants to collaborate, especially these guys doing sustainable finishing. Go, bring students, let's show them what we're doing that's relevant right now, so they can incorporate it into their collection. So we'll let Sam and Daniel.
I love going to Genealogia. It was amazing.
So I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to first invite Sam now. So
Kaihara rocks, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks.
So,
but I just say that all your washes. Yeah, sorry, we'll come back.
Yeah. So, okay, Danielle, don't worry, we'll invite you quite soon. I know you're there like, I want to join. So I'm going to share now the next presentation.
Yeah, so Irene, while Mohsin's doing that, one of the things I thought was really beautiful actually is to look at all the different weights and shades and washes across the 5 years. Because of course, we're looking at finish, so we're looking at the product and the cut, but just to kind of pull back and have all those different choices as a kind of little selection. Yeah, and almost create a book where a page could be the weight of the actual page of denim. Oh my goodness me.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think I'm just going to start with the next slide and start talking about the beginning of the year when we were doing a project called Mirror Mirror, which was basically Zowie wanted us to express who we are, not necessarily through the form of fashion, but through the form of a performance, a presentation, sort of anything really that sort of explained us. And I decided to do a film myself at 6 o'clock in the morning up in the Heath where I live close by to, dancing, and it was really this sort of expression of emotions, and then also this idea of times of days and sort of nightlife and my community and the people I exist around within that space, and the wonderful dynamic that exists there between sort of desire, intimacy, community, and these sort of the warmth and yeah, all of these really sort of things that kind of hit you in the gut. I think that's kind of what I always start with when I'm looking at design. Yeah, so this was a video that I filmed at the beginning of the year. It's just screenshots of it. where it's me dancing at 6 a.m. In the heath that I live close by to. And it was very much about this sort of idea of nightlife and this time of the day and these sort of quiet moments that exist within sort of moments that are very sort of energetic and loud, and this idea of rhythm and movement and all of these things that kind of I'm drawn to through the community that I exist around, and the things that I love to do just sort of outside of the context of fashion, but also within the context of fashion. And then at the same time, last summer I was reading Danielle Miller's writing on global denim, I believe, and there was a extract from Sophie Woodward's where she was talking about this idea of the boyfriend fit jean, and this idea of exchange of intimacy, and the way that it can be sort of translated from the memories of denim and sort of the qualities of that, and how it can be, by wearing someone else's, you'll kind of have this wonderful connection with someone. And I really wanted to explore this further. And yeah, I started playing with this idea of fit and adjustability, but then also having this freedom and this looseness within denim that would enable movement, whilst also referencing at the same time tropes that were existing from Tom of Finland and all of these references from sort of 1960s, 1970s to do with gay culture specifically. And these ideas of how we perceive masculinity and the relationship between that and denim, because I think for me, I love denim, I love the sort of emotional quality to it, but then it also, I think the weight of it and the rigidity is very much about sort of straight lines and angles and this kind of this boxy shape within it, and how can I sort of soften this through pattern, through cutting, to create something that sort of reflects more the masculinity that I understand. Yeah, again, and then here playing with ideas of volume and sort of and movement, and having the body that can exist within it, and having the freedom to move and express here in these sort of ways. Yeah, and then kind of resolving this within these forms. I was also referencing work from Mark Leckey and looking at forms of dance. And then also, because with the Kaihara sponsorship, one of the denims I got was a linen blend. And I love linen as an idea within denim, partially because of the sustainable aspect, but then also I found linen as material has this wonderful quiver and this fall to it that seems very reactive and much more responsive than a typical cotton would be, but then at the same time sort of amplifies these tropes of denim, sort of holding memory in the way that it creases and the way it sort of sustains this this sort of the actions of the body, I suppose. Yeah, and sort of pushing this on here, playing around also with the selvage of the denim. I think a lot of my stuff a lot of my work is to do with kind of hidden cues and things that aren't too obvious. It's elements of subtlety, as the working with things that are quite traditional, but then rethinking them. So here having the selvage in the waistband, which would be folded and hidden in some areas. And then again here, pushing further these ideas of coding, the idea of the key and the semiotics that sort of reference back to Hal Fisher and these artists of the past, but then also thinking of this idea of home. And I think during lockdown and during the time when we were sort of stuck in these situations, these objects sort of got more power and more interest to them, to me, even though I was kind of doing them beforehand. Yeah, they felt really relevant and exciting. And thinking about how I can use sort of unused, disused materials, again, replacing them within a new context, but then sort of having these very sort of typical hardware finishes to a denim, and the sort of the way that this key in particular is worn away and it has this wonderful layer of silvers and brass. But yeah, kind of having these double meanings and bringing it into a new space as well. I was really interested as well with machinery and responding to machinery. So here we've got a Cornelli machine at university, and I started playing around with it and really loved the way that the machine works, and the way that in order to create the stitch, it has this gestural quality to it that feels like a drawing, because you're spinning it underneath rather than moving it with your hands, and it kind of has all of these mistakes. And even here where it skipped stitches, I was just tying off the end so it would sustain these kind of errors, and yeah, these wonderful gestures that exist here. Yeah, and then pushing it further, because obviously during lockdown we didn't have access to the machinery, so then it was doing it by hand, which was much less sort of reactive, but then at the same time had this kind of laborious feeling to it that felt really relevant, but then kind of transposing the sort of energy that existed within it beforehand, and rethinking kind of what the finishes are. So having sort of a felled seam finish, but actually it just completely wasn't that anymore. And then I think I went kind of back to thinking about dance again, and this interaction between the garment and the body. And then I started thinking about this idea of the interaction between the garment and itself, in order to create this sort of tension and conflict between the fabric, that actually it was both sort of aggressive, but then at the same time very fluid and organic. And yeah, I feel it felt kind of very sort of I think what I'm drawn to is to do with identity, and it's to do with people. And I think what I really love is the complexity of different people, and the way that things aren't so clear, and things are sometimes a bit messy. And yeah, I don't know, I think there was something there. Yeah, and sort of playing with these ideas more in smaller moments, but then thinking about it within the cut of the waistcoat, and what is revealed within the waistcoat, what is it showing, how does it show the body, how do you kind of represent these forms of desire through cuts. Yeah, but then again, having this kind of this softer scale to it. Yeah, and then as Mohsin mentioned earlier, we were working with Kaihara and also genealogy. And yeah, when we got the samples from Kaihara, what I really loved about this material, which was 100% cotton, was the washes of it and the indigo dye, and the way that it had this sort of the greenish quality. And I really wanted to push this, so I started working with genealogy in order to kind of push these further, and using their more sustainable washes that would use less water and be less toxic. And then also using an over dye where the fabric would be turned inside out when it was dyed, so it kind of filtered through slightly, but it was much more subtle. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, this wasn't really pushed in that direction, but it kind of really informs, and even going to see the different types of washes and all of the archive that they had there really informed kind of how I wanted to pursue this further. And then, yeah, so here, this is a sort of documentation of the alternative that I used, literally just getting a bottle spray, using bleach, and getting in my shower and doing it there, in order to kind of transfer this. And if you go to the next slide, it should be the outcome. Yeah, and I think actually it was really successful, because I liked the way that this wash wasn't flat. It was kind of uneven. It was, yeah, it felt old and it felt worn, and it didn't feel too forced. It just kind of felt like something that had happened over time, and the way that, because I was bleaching with a spray, the areas where it was kind of pleated over, it was darker, and kind of these elements that existed. And then here, there's also a close-up of the pocket opening, and thinking about reinforcement stitches, and going to Mohsin's archive and seeing the sort of traditional ways that were pre-rivets when Levi's owned the rights to it. And I think that's something really beautiful and elegant about, yeah, just having these details that are very subtle and hidden, but then kind of very effective and also very modern in the way that it's super sustainable as well, in terms of recycling a garment. Yeah, and then I just wanted to finish with images of my garments and some of the pieces on people that I've met and people that have sort of been kind of fundamental within the time that we've just gone through, but then also the last 2 years. And yeah, I think my practice is constantly and will always be about sort of learning and developing my ideas through conversations and through experiences that I have with people. So yeah, and yeah, just thank you so much for the sponsorship and you as a person, and your presence within the last year has also been super, super amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam. It's been an absolute pleasure to teach you guys. And obviously, as I said, I do teach in other courses, but doing the RCA project is always a highlight for me every year. Even if it's 1 or 2 students, I get so much more out of it. And it's very much one-on-one, and I love mentoring. I'm really pleased that students and yourselves got to see our archive here in West Sussex, and anyone who wants to come and see it is most welcome. So Sam, let's just go. Oh, there we go. Going to Danielle now. I'm going to turn your screen off just for a moment, but I'll invite you back just at the end. Okay, so stay with us, please. And now we're going to invite Danielle to join us. So hi, Danielle.
Hello.
So yeah, you got the pleasure of taking us to the end. So yeah, I'm your master at pressing buttons. So
absolutely amazing. Thank you again, everyone, so much for being part of this and allowing us to just talk through everything and say hello and, you know, have a chat. Okay, Mohsin, next slide. So what I do is create zero waste garments, and really it's about the system of design and how the whole system works together rather than creating one garment. What I focus on is creating tools and facilitating workshops that really get across the idea of zero waste as a whole rather than just one part of the process. So this is an example of a zero waste pattern master that I created during my first year at RCA on the left-hand side of the screen. It really is about taking a zero waste pattern that I've created, which uses 100% of material, and condensing the most important information down into a few key pieces, which I then combine into one block, which with a set of instructions, you can either recreate the exact garment that I designed, or you can use it to play around and just have a starting block for other zero waste garments. So this is just a look into my sketchbook of how I go about creating these little tools, and you see some pictures from Mohsin's archive on there. A lot of my work also revolves around this idea of interaction and playfulness, and getting people involved in the conversation of sustainability without it being negative. A lot of the work is quite bold graphically, or, you know, some of it's a bit more toned back with really impactful details. With zero waste as the base that I design, I try to keep it through every part of the process that I do. So for example, these patterns that I screen printed to become tags in the actual garments, so you can see what it is that you're wearing and where the different pieces all came from. It also comes down to creating grosgrain tape that goes around all the finishing details, which ties back to the same, you know, graphic story, but also, you know, the moniker that I've been working under. As Sam and Mohsin said, we've been working with Genealogia on the finishing side of denim. And I was really intrigued by this laser finishing of how it could be used to actually cut the garment pieces out to do everything in one process and eliminate any margin of error. If I could do that, as well as use a laser to tell the graphic story that I've been creating in my work, and allowing the natural qualities of denim to tell that story rather than me having to talk about it. So this is just an example of a tech pack that I used to create a pair of pants, with some of the finishing details being really specific because of the shape of the pattern. And I have a few more detail photos of that on the next slide. Of these are some of the muslin garments during fittings. I start with very like staple menswear pieces and kind of work out from there. I believe that the garments I'm making should be quite timeless and be able to be worked in many different ways and worn in many different ways. So once again, these are just some fitting photos of, you know, the specific details being called out, like the selvage denim pocket being pulled to the outside, so you can see that really beautiful finishing from the outside. Next slide, please. And you can kind of click through the next 4 images. These are just some of the details of what has come out of the selvage denim being used for these zero waste patterns and how I integrated that into the actual finishings. You can see that everything's been considered, the sneaky details in there, trying to stick with very referential denim techniques and standards, but then also, you know, giving a nod to what it is that I'm doing with the patterns. And then I had a little quarantine photo shoot where I got one image of the denim all on one person other than myself. Yeah, it's just been an amazing project to work on. I can't wait to pursue it further with the proper machinery and proper time and space to be working on it. It's been so much fun. I love working with denim and with all of you. And yeah, it's been absolutely amazing. So thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure. Let me turn on Sam as well. Right there, we can say ask to start video. Just want to mention one other thing. Sort of, you guys were also sponsored by YKK, right? If I remember, was that correct? Did they help you with some of your trim development too? So we have to say thank you to Katie at YKK as well. This has been a complete career highlight, especially for me. But you guys, you know, you guys at the start of your careers, and it's so exciting to see both of you going down an avenue which is yet to be explored. You know, it's really quite special, and I very much look forward to looking out for more of your work in the future. Zoe and Irene, do you want to say anything else before we close?
Irene?
Yes. Well, I would like to say thank you for the student as well, because it's a pleasure like seeing you guys putting very new ideas, and it's always interesting to see how you guys turn the fabric into some very impressive work, and also the washing. Yeah. And I like how manage like the zero wastage. It's really good idea. You know, like now sustainability is really a big thing. So this is absolutely fit the concept. And I like it that you put all the things together, but not too busy.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
You don't feel that it's zero waste, if that makes sense. I don't know why it should feel different, but yeah, I think, haven't you just won an award for your a COVID award? I can't remember what it's called.
Yes. So during the pandemic, when we were all locked down, I created a set of zero waste scrubs, which I made available to download. And that won a design from the iDesign Awards, the COVID-19 response grant, which was really amazing. Yeah. So it's great. I'm getting feedback from people on the zero waste patterns in all sorts of ways. So it's great for development.
Yeah, again, all that kind of open source. And I have to say, Sam, I love that you say denim that quivers. That's going to be a new one for the denim books. I love it. Denim that quivers. I'm like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. For me, both these guys, if they don't know that I think what they're doing is amazing, then they should do. But Mohsin, for me, I really, all of us here have to thank you. From, I think, not that I can speak about Kaihara, but like, it's you who bring us together. And you're such a great leader with such great values, and you love the material, you love denim and everything it does in the most, it's like when you meet someone who's that passionate, you just become passionate too. And so your energy, your generosity is overwhelming, I have to say. And the 5 years seeing all that work together, without a doubt, I think each of those young designers did amazing ideas. And yeah, damn, where's that lottery money? I would do something with all of them right now. But Mohsin, thank you. It's really you who is holds us together.
It's a real honor. You know, it's not much time out of my day mentoring and helping, and if it helps, you know, it's just a question of introducing people, and a lot of that many people forget. It's just a simple introduction can lead to an amazing.
Mohsin, your days are about 48 hours long, though.
Trisha said, like, sort of like, well done, but like I work with Trisha, and she's one of the main ladies at like Textile, and I often joke with her being Saudi because we work on LA or like New York time mostly. So you often will get an email from me at 3 in the morning, and it's not because I'm crazy. It's just because I work on that time scale. I work on that time.
You don't sleep at
well,
all.
Yeah, no, I do wake up quite late in the morning, so we started at 11 o'clock, Zoe. So like, good. But no, it's a real pleasure. I don't mind at all, and I love collaborating with young, and I love the fact that now denim's got a new lease of life. It's all about being sustainable. It's about the race to make the most sustainable jean, whether it's in washing or finishing or spinning, or every aspect of what we do can be changed, and it's super exciting. Even down to like sort of like bacteria, sort of indigo dye that's made from bacteria to clever pattern cutting to, but ultimately is telling that story which all of these guys did so well. And sometimes that story, which Danielle and Sam you'll find, doesn't translate to the shop floor sometimes. So being involved in your own marketing is super important. I couldn't say that to any young designer. Like, try and be involved in every aspect of everything that you do, and unless you trust someone, of course. But it's been a pleasure, and I want to thank Irene as well. You know, a like continuous support for 5 years. You know, doesn't even question it. She goes, "Oh, Mohsin, you can pick the students." I'm like, no, I want you to be involved in selecting them as well, because you know, yeah, it's very easy for me and Zoe
You're good at that.
no, but you know, it's I like to involve you guys more, and you guys are one of the best as well, especially with some of the development.
So beautiful.
Giving such great development to us, as well as Textile developments and linen and things that you wouldn't even show to other clients, but you share with the students. So thank you so much.
I think the relationship that was evident in both of their presentations was the fact that it was a relationship with industry, actually, with Kaihara and Geologia, and kind of going in and being able to learn that kind of intense level, but with their kind of freedom and their new thinking. But also, yeah, with a material that, as we talk about it, we want to protect this material. Okay, you know, there's lots of things that we have to look at in our world right now, but as a material, it is durable and it's full of memory, and it's a material I don't want to leave us.
Yeah, no, I feel very precious about it, and yeah, I hope this collaboration, this 5 years, will get to the next 10-year anniversary, and maybe we'll have a big part again. But I want to thank all of you. We're nearly at the full hour. Both Danielle and Sam, I wish you guys the best of luck. If you need any help from any of us in the future, please do reach out, even if it's helping you connect with someone else. If I don't know them, I know someone who does. So please do reach out, and I wish you the very best of luck. Zoe, thank you for your time. I know you had a crazy Zoom-tastic couple of weeks. So, Irene as well.
Just like you.
Hong Kong.
No. Thank you, Mohsin.
And I wish you guys all the best of luck, and hope to see you again next.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Irene. Thank you, Mohsin.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Mohsin. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Pleasure. And just to say, this recording is going to be edited. It's going to be uploaded on Blue Lens, Carved in Blue channel, probably in the next few hours, so you can visit the whole experience again. Thank you for your time.
That's Denim TV.
Bye.